Hello, I'm Reefa, Head of Events at Wired Sussex. We're a membership organisation based in Brighton, supporting digital, creative tech businesses, and we collaborate with national and international organisations around innovation and immersive tech. And if you'd like to know more about the work that we do, go to wiredsussex.com. Welcome to this Meet the Team event showcasing our members who are currently recruiting on the Wired Sussex Jobs Board. We, of course, want to help more job seekers find out about the companies, the roles, and the industry. So I'm delighted to introduce Jonathan, Lou, and Rachel from super cool creative agency Tilt, based here in Brighton. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hi, how are you doing?
All good, all good. So happy to see you.
Thanks for having us. Hi everyone. My name's John. I'm the Managing Director at Tilt. I won't bore you with the specifics of what I do, but in a nutshell, I try and make sure that we have the right people in the right place at the right time. And if that is all working, then my life is a happy one. So it's all good. So what I'll do now quickly is just introduce Lou and Rachel. So Lou, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. I'm Lou, Senior Creative Strategist at Tilt, sitting within the creative team, and I basically solve big knotty problems for global businesses, anything from diversity and inclusion to climate change and huge things like that. So yeah, really fun.
And Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm Senior Developer here at Tilt. I also like to solve big knotty problems for clients, but mine are things such as how do we make the things work? So I'm a maker worker.
Maker worker. There's probably a more elegant way to say that, and you hate me for using this phrase, but our head of creative strategy coined it. But Rachel is a genius developer, and to call Rachel just a developer is like calling Mozart a piano tuner. So you undersell yourself. Anyway, what I thought I'd do is I've got a little presentation just to talk about who we are at Tilt, and then also to sort of have a little look about the kind of qualities and the type of person that we look for when we're trying to recruit the roles, and then actually look at some of the roles we've got available. I know you're going to be sort of, those watching at home will have a few questions, so please feel free to ask those questions at any point, interrupt me. I prefer a kind of an informal conversation rather than me just talking at everyone. So Reefa, please feel free just to throw questions at me, or Lou or Rachel as we go through. Great, so I will present my screen, technology willing. Here we go. Bear with me a second. Can everyone see that? I'm hoping so.
Yes, all good.
Excellent. So I'll just get started then. So yeah, we are Tilt. So who are we? In essence, we're an award-winning creative agency that seeks to breathe new life into learning. I think the principal thing to recognize about us is that we don't work on fluff. Whether we're using digital design, film and psychology to help reduce global drink driving rates alongside the UN, through to transforming learning culture for one of the world's biggest organizations, or indeed explaining small but complex ideas in fun bite-sized chunks for the BBC, our goal is to take on big, challenging projects that make a positive impact. So, a sort of central tenet of our belief at Tilt is that there can be no behavior change without engagement. And engagement itself comes when you have crafted an experience, a digital experience, that both demands attention and also meets a specific need. Now, in order to meet these needs, for us, we believe that you've got to think, creatively and strategically about the key business challenge that we're being asked to solve. And then additionally, use our creative production skills to bring these ideas to life. And it's because of that our kind of, I guess, strapline is that creativity is the catalyst for creating this change and indeed developing capability. So moving on, hopefully this is going to work. At Tilt, we've got 5 different sort of service lines, which all starts with our creative strategist teams. So we don't just make things, we shape things so that they actually resonate with the audience to create positive impact. And it's headed up by our head of creative strategy, but Lou is a senior creative strategist and sort of, as she says, is responsible for unknotting a lot of knotty problems. The next department that we have is our interactive department. So that sort of spans development and design, of which Rachel sits in. Our team of developers and designers create brilliant digital experiences that are both bold, beautiful, and put users first and always. One of the core things that the development team will say, is amazing, is that we remain platform agnostic. And so what we mean by that is that we don't hang our hat on any one solution. And what that allows us to do is always remain objective about the actual solution that we're trying to create, rather than trying to push a proprietary system. Moving on to our film department, we get into rich media now. So rich media is always very easy to showcase. For us, film allows us to bring to life beautiful stories about people, places, and ideas. And film really comes alive in the sort of the spaces between words, and it's perfect for us to help people connect and relate on an emotional level and kind of gain a deeper understanding of a subject. So it's a really great medium to use when you want to try and sort of find that hook and allow people to connect with something. And then finally, our sort of motion graphics and animation department is sort of, if you can imagine it, we can create it in animation. It adds a little bit of surprise and delight that captures an audience's attention for the right reasons. Our head of motion graphics is a chap called Stig Coldham, and back in the days he used to work at Fatboy Slim concerts, designing sort of some of the animations that were actually put up on the big screen. I think the last body of work he did was one of the last big beach boutiques at the Amex Stadium, which was fantastic to go and see. So yeah, so in a nutshell, if I were to distill down all of this, who are we? And at heart, we're problem solvers, storytellers, thinkers, and makers. And we use our kind of creative skills and our kind of creative passions to try and solve key business challenges that make a positive impact, either personally or professionally. So the best way to sort of show this and to articulate this is to quickly go through a couple of projects that we've been working on, just to kind of give you a bit of a flavor. And this is one of the key things that sort of runs through Tilt is, and my advice to everyone is always do the thing. Show, don't tell. Don't talk at me about the thing that you can do. If you're trying to showcase your skills, do it, bring it to life. So, at the moment we're working with Deloitte and the WWF to help reduce the carbon impact of climate change. The goal here is to sort of start a movement within the company and beyond by empowering individuals to change their own behaviours through awareness and small achievable changes that move you from, I guess, a passive participant to an active one for your actions. It's a little flavour of what we're doing. Then moving on, we're also working with Diageo, which is something that's launching as we speak at the moment across the world. Now, this is sort of working to help reduce underage alcohol consumption in young people. And that's been an amazing project. And it's in collaboration with a company called Collingwood Learning. And we've taken their face-to-face experience and we've digitized it and we're rolling it out across the world. And it was kind of triggered, obviously, with COVID last year. They were unable to actually sort of do the face-to-face events, but it didn't want to sort of let this slip. And so we collaborated with them to really create an experience that resonates with the right audience, with the target audience group, and actually helps drive change in attitude here. And here's a little look at the interface that's going, that we've actually been creating. And I think there's a case study going live on our site soon, but there's some marketing. If you go over to Collingwood Learning, you can see some of the example content up there at the moment. And then finally, another one with Diageo, just because we're getting some great opportunities with them at the moment, is we're working to change drink driving habits around the world as part of their 2030 positive drinking strategy, which again is a fantastic project to work on. And we've had a lot of fun over the last 6 months, really getting under the skin of what this is. And actually what we've managed to do is we've actually managed to interview ex-drink drivers and actually get them to speak about their experiences. And actually you can actually interact with them through an interactive experience and ask questions about, what the experience was like, what would they do differently, how does it impact their lives. And it's really heavy, but it also is really impactful. So this is fantastic. And it's just launched and it's been endorsed by the Think campaign and the government, which is amazing. Again, working on this from a team's sort of motivation perspective has been fantastic, because you are genuinely putting your skills to great use and creating like a legacy. So moving on to the next slide. So have we actually made an impact? So we've spoken about our our belief that creativity is the catalyst for positive change. And what we like to do is that, we create digital experiences that make a positive impact on people's lives. So the impact aspect of this statement is how we measure our success. And through measuring this impact, we've been fortunate enough and had the privilege of being recognized by a number of award bodies. Perhaps the two of note is the Digital Impact Awards in 2019 for our work with Deloitte, and then again in 2020 for our work with Vodafone around design thinking. Again, we sort of was three times winner for the 2019 one, and again in the Vodafone one last year, it was overall event winner, which was fantastic. So it's lovely to see the industry recognizing the impact of the projects that we're making. So that is enough about us. You're not here to listen to me talk about us. You're here to listen to some advice and also some, look at the roles that we've got available. So let's look at the type of qualities that we look for in a future tilter. Mel embodies that. So, so yeah, the type of person we're after, really, it comes down to this bulleted list. It's someone who's endlessly curious to understand how we can continually create fresh and original work. It's someone who embraces failure as an essential part of progress, because without failure, you cannot learn. You've got to kind of prod, poke, test, learn, break things, put it back together to understand it. It's like taking apart an engine and put it back together again. You can only learn through breaking things. And then someone who is happy to work across boundaries to co-create a better experience for Tilt and our clients. So if you join Tilt, you don't get put in a box of just you're a project manager or you're an animator. You will be asked to kind of come into wider discussions, and it's encouraged that you are part of those discussions, because there's kind of synergy that you get from sort of offering advice around this, from a different perspective, really helps to bring ideas to life. And another one is, it's someone that finds paths to answers by listening and inquiring. So don't be afraid to ask the obvious question. Don't be afraid to ask the stupid question. I ask it all the time, because sometimes, sometimes people are too afraid to ask the question that needs to be asked. But if you actually ask that question, then it opens up a conversation. And I'd rather, if you don't know something, you ask, rather than sit there in silence for fear of, what might happen. And I know that's probably something that everyone at Tilt agrees with. And then this is perhaps the most important one for me, is that you actually care about the problems you're trying to solve. So you're using your skills for good. You're leaving a legacy. And then finally, it's you enjoy sharing and contributing to ideas as much as listening to them. So that's what it says on the tin there. If you need to listen to other people's ideas as much as talk about your own. And somewhere in the middle, you'll find that lovely melting pot and the seed of an idea that sort of really meets the need of a key business challenge. So this is something that we embrace at Tilt, which is nurturing a growth mindset. So, if you are embracing failure as an essential part of progress, we encourage you to adopt a continuous learning mindset. And that's something that, I believe should, working within digital. I used to be an ex-web developer, and when I was teaching myself web development, I was like, this is something that I'm never going to have to stop learning. So very, very early on, you sort of cemented in my mind that you have to have a kind of a continuous learning mindset, because it's just the technologies and everything around it are just progressing forward at a sort of ever increasing rate. And so that kind of principle applies to everything at Tilt, which, and indeed in your lives, just adopt a continuous learning mindset and embrace failure as an essential part of progress. So you keep prodding and breaking things, put them back together, you understand how they work. In terms of how we at Tilt sort of nurture a growth mindset, we provide personal development budgets and also conference budgets, and alongside a lot of time for R&D. Additionally, we bring in specialists to learn from. So either on a project. So for example, we might be working on a project, and rather than try and limit the idea by, obviously at Tilt we've got a vast range of specialisms, but sometimes you might come up with an idea and you're like, well, we don't necessarily have that core specialism in house. So you go get it, you bring it in, and you use that person to kind of upskill your team and also, do justice to the idea and bring it to life. I think we did that recently with the development team with React or something. Rachel, what was the language that we?
Yeah, so a little while ago we were working on a project, and we have some React development experience. We had some React development experience in house, but we brought in an expert just to help upskill the team and lead us through the technical challenges we may have faced there, just to make sure we could produce the best work possible for the client and learn something ourselves. Indeed,
that. And then finally, we've been hosting talks with thought leaders. So pre-COVID, we started a mini event series called Tilt Talks, which was effectively bullet talks from brilliant minds, and we had a ex-lead Hollywood animator who was responsible for all the Spider-Man series at Sony Pictures. He came and sort of spoke about what it takes to get into the industry, right the way through to sort of behavioral and learning psychologist who sort of is kind of pioneering a sort of a new sort of way of developing sort of, I guess, learning experiences and developing employee capability. And so as part of that, we learn through osmosis. We sort of, we're speaking to these people, we're engaging with them, we're at the talk, and it's a really great thing to do. So it's just basically seek out as many events, networking events, or thought leadership events as you can, which obviously the team at Wired Sussex put on, and Brighton indeed has a multitude of them, and just go to them. So talking about your beautiful brain, again, what is it? What are we looking for at Tilt? So, ultimately, I've talked about sort of making sure that you care about what you do. So, if you're happy applying your beautiful brain to selling more sugar water, we're probably not the agency for you. However, if you're interested in being given the opportunity to flex the full scope of your creative powers in the pursuit of something glorious, then I want to hear from you. So I'll show you how. So the current roles we've got available at the moment, they're available on our careers page, which is www.wearetilt.com/careers. That's a bit of a mouthful there. And so the first one is our junior project manager. So this is actually a new role that we've only just, I think, published last week. We're looking for someone to join us and to have the opportunity to grow and blossom with us. And film experience is an ideal, because you'd be working on the SMASH project, which is the underage drinking project I spoke about earlier on a global rollout, supporting one of our senior project managers. So that is available from our careers page. The other one, our experienced project manager. Now, this is someone who probably needs to know the difference between waterfall and agile project management. And you'll probably be working on the agile side of things for a big pharma company, working on a bit of the product development, so supporting the dev team on that. So again, the job ad is available on our careers site, so please head over there to have a little peek. Then not last, I think this is the second to last, are mid-weight digital designer positions. This is someone who, is obsessive about digital design, creating, websites, responsive sites, apps, web apps, and you genuinely love the craft, collaboration and grit involved in producing award-winning work. And again, one of the key things here is you'll be working very closely with the development team. So, an understanding of, HTML and CSS and JavaScript and React, not necessarily how to code it, but an understanding of what you can do, or what the limitations are, and how you can use that in design. Because, sometimes a designer might come across and design this beautiful site and give it to you, and you're like, well, this isn't possible to do in code. So actually having someone who understands the kind of coding principles is useful here. And then finally, someone to join Sarah and Rachel's team, a full stack developer. We've recently actually brought a full stack developer on, a chap called Aaron Grover, who is fitting into the team beautifully, but the opportunities just don't seem to keep coming our way. So at the moment, we're looking to bring another full stack developer into the team. They're the 4 roles we've got available at the moment. However, much like the continuous learning mindset that I've encouraged you to adopt, we have a kind of a continuous recruitment mindset. So even though these are just the roles, if you don't feel like they're right for you, don't let that stop you reaching out. As I said, at Tilt, we value initiative, bravery, and passion. And if you really feel like you could make a difference by bringing your unique skills to us, then do it. Get in touch and show us how. Don't tell us, show us. Right, I'm just going to come off present now, because that's the end of that. Oh, hang on. Fail. And I'll come back to the main screen. Right.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Jonathan.
That's all right.
I've got some questions from the audience so far. What struck me with your presentation is that your setup as a agency is quite different to when I used to work in agencies, where you'd have like the designers over here and the developers in a cupboard somewhere under the stairs, and then you'd have the video production animation people doing something cool in a whole other building. And it sounds like you're all collaborating a lot, and the role thing isn't as defined as other agencies.
I'd say that's pretty true. Obviously, there is definition in the role itself. If you are a developer, you're a developer. But as I said, we do encourage that kind of cross-pollination of ideas and sort of conversations, because it's through those conversations that you get the kind of the synergy and the just, as I said, the genesis of of a thing that wouldn't necessarily come if you were just asking a designer or just asking a film person. If you put all of those people in a room and say, here's a problem, have a think on it, the conversation that happens is a really interesting one, because initially everyone's quite sort of talks about their particular kind of viewpoint, and then you latch onto a hook of an idea, and then you start exploring it. Lou, you're nodding, so
no, everything you're saying is right. I think this is probably the least siloed agency I've ever worked in, which is an absolute pleasure. And I think I guess roles are slightly blurred around the edges, because you're always working with other teams and you've always got their input. So like you were saying about the designer knowing code, but you're sitting, or you're near the development team. It's like it's that symbiotic relationship, basically.
Symbiotic, not synergy.
So Harry says, a lot of your clients and projects have a strong moral and ethical heart to them. How important is it for you as an agency to pursue the projects which better the world around us? Good question.
Do you want to take it, Lou, or Rachel?
Yeah, working here is pretty fundamental, I would say. And even if you could say, for example, so I've just been doing interviews for another role, and the question was, well, hang on a minute, you're doing all these really ethical projects, but you work with oil companies, for example. And I'd say that in that kind of case, there is a trade-off. It's because sometimes if you work within these larger companies, you can actually affect more change than if you're kind of outside of them, because they've got the stakeholders and they've got the ears of these massive companies around the world who can actually make a larger difference than me as an individual doing something. So I would say whatever project we're doing, it's always for a social good, whether it seems like it is immediately on the face of it or not. And I think every one of us feels like that's a fundamental thing to have here.
Yeah, I mean, just following on from that, on your you're talking about sort of the energy industry. So, I mean, you know, you can see from our site that we work with BP, and, you know, one of their big, if you've been following the news, one of their big things is their kind of push towards achieving net zero and shift towards alternative energy. You know, obviously they will still, you know, refine fossil fuels, etc. But, you know, one of the things that we've hung our hat on, and we've engaged with BP on, is, you know, if we can work with them to develop employee capability to help accelerate that transformation, that in itself is a huge positive impact. Yeah. That's kind of the angle, as it were.
Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Tim Watt says, I feel that solving content problems for companies is fairly straightforward. It's about providing value that parts of companies want promoted to engage. Does that make sense? But marketing departments tend not to understand. So how do you sell offerings to clients?
How do we sell offerings?
Sell your offerings to clients.
Okay, well, this is an interesting one. This comes down to our process, really. You know, we have evolved over the years in terms of how we sell what we do. And actually now the best way to do it is to, I'm going to distill this down. The best way to do it is understand what the user wants, then give it to them. It's as simple as that. So in order to sell our offering to the client, if they come to us and say, I want a motion graphics piece, first question is why? It's understand what they want. And it might not be a motion graphics piece. It might be something a bit bigger. It might be something a bit smaller. So we kind of, we've created and sort of shaped our process, our way of working, into kind of 4 phases. And so it's a discovery phase, a define phase, a create phase, and a refine phase. So in terms of how we sell our offering to the clients, we focus on the first 2. So it's discover and define. So what that means is with the discovery phase, we take time to understand the user. We understand the user, the stakeholders, understand the maturity of the IT and S departments and the teams, and what we've got to play with, what the art of the possible is, what their appetite is for doing something different, understand the culture. You then have all of these insights to which you can then go into the define phase, which is effectively creating a proposal for them. Because, you know, I personally believe that the whole pitch process is broken. Yeah, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that there, because, you know, someone will come to you and say, okay, pitch for this project. And you're like, well, how can I pitch for this project without understanding the project? And they're like, I just want to see what you can do. And I was like, well, what I can do is we'll do this listening phase first to really understand the problem, and then we can make a recommendation. And so, you know, that's generally with pitch processes, is you'll have to go through it. You have to kind of make a recommendation based on limited insight. You'll get awarded a project, then you have to throw it in the bin and start again. Because you generally have to go through that listening exercise. And so in answering how we sell our offering, it is we sell the first part, which is the discover and define phase. We'll come in, we'll listen to you, we'll understand the knotty problem, we'll get those insights, which is kind of what Lou and her team do. And they draw in the information, you know, they draw in sort of advice and guidance from Rachel's team and the design team, etc. And then we have those insights to shape a recommendation.
And I think the question has that perception that actually it's an easy thing to do. I think it was mentioned towards the beginning. I would actually say it's the hardest thing to do in a project, because it's very rare that a client or somebody will come to you and say, this is what we need, and that is the right thing. There's often a lot of digging involved, and asking the right questions, I think, more fundamentally, because quite often a client doesn't want to hear the truth, or they already know it and they're looking for another answer, and they're looking for the easy way out. And I think one of the best things we do here is that we don't take the easy way out, and we don't just say, yeah, fine, we'll give you that, like a number of other agencies probably would. We actually dig deeper into the kind of mindsets and attitudes of the people who are working at the company, and we get to the bottom of that psychology, and then we try and find a way of kind of turning it on its head a little bit and probably provoking clients in a way by presenting back insights that they don't want to hear, but it's fundamental to creating that change. So it's often it's an integral process, but I would say 9 times out of 10, it can be quite difficult and challenging.
But that makes for a richer experience all round, I suppose.
It does.
Like the whole, like, I'm assuming there are clients that you probably don't feel there's a good fit for you as well, which is
yeah. I mean, we've been evolving a kind of a project scorecard as we go along, which we can use to sort of go down and say, does it meet the kind of basic parameters? And it might fall short on one, but then does it sort of like make up for it sort of elsewhere? But sometimes you do find projects where you're like, this just isn't the right fit for us, and it's hard to say no, but say no we must, because it kind of otherwise you just take on everything and then you find yourself spinning too many plates and eventually something will break.
Well, we just wouldn't live to our values, and I think that's something we're interested in.
Yeah.
That might be a bit strong. Sorry.
It's about your integrity, isn't it, as an agency, which is important, I think.
Yeah, you've got to have a purpose. You've got to believe in something, and that is.
So one of the questions from Nicola is, do you have roles for creative and cultural project managers within Tilt?
Creative and
I would say every one of our project managers are creative and cultural, because I think if you didn't have that understanding or that kind of drive, you probably wouldn't work at Tilt and you would go work at any other agency in London, for example. But I think there's something about you being an innately creative person and understanding, I guess more than anything, digital culture that I guess would bring you to us, because it's just so integral to those project management roles. It's not straightforward project management. There's so much more to it.
They don't just sort of sit there behind a spreadsheet all day. Our project managers are almost product owners themselves. They're involved. They care about the project. They have their say in how it's shaped. So,
Also, just a semantic thing. The word creative is in the job title on our careers page.
Brilliant.
There we go.
The perfect fit.
Nicola had another question about, excuse me, are you able to integrate, or maybe it's a how do you integrate new staff who have lots of experience in one sector who are moving into the digital sector? This is something that we come across all the time with people who are moving from a different transferable skills, but they're moving into digital and they're quite new to the industry.
Yeah, I mean, again, if the skill is transferable, then show us. Again, it comes down to the, when you're reviewing CVs at the moment, you're reviewing a lot of CVs, and if I can come across a CV that is simpler but more refined, and it's just, firstly, the cover letter, it's kind of quite impactful, and it's kind of, I see your personality, and then I can see that you're sort of saying, okay, I haven't worked in this sector, and I think, okay, fine, but show me that how your skills are transferable, and do that in a short and succinct way. Because I can speak for myself, and I can probably speak for a lot of other digital agencies in Brighton. They're probably all very busy at the moment, with a huge demand for digital skills and the digital projects that are coming through the door, and the amount of CVs we're getting is huge. So show us, put your best work first, show us how those skills are transferable and how they relate to the role.
We've also just brought three brand new people into our creative team, and they all have skill sets in varying areas. But obviously, sitting within the creative team, you get to work with pretty much everyone across the agency. I mean, you kind of do anywhere, but more so in creative, because you just have to be able to formulate an idea and figure out what the solutions are. And I think our way of bringing them in is really like, learning on the job, and we will be there to support you. That's our roles. Like, the whole creative team is set up to support those people who've just come in, put them on projects so they're actually going through the doing, but supporting them along the way. And it's kind of as simple as that. And then I guess there's an element of, like John was saying earlier, like there is this thing of continuous learning, and it's just like, I guess we would hope to a point that you would also be interested in that too. So not only would we be able to help you internally and support you, it will also be you at home kind of, you know, making and doing all that cool stuff on the weekend or like in your evenings, because it's what you love doing. Like it's your drive.
I mean, just on that point with the 3 people we brought on, one of them has joined us as a junior creative, just because her mind is exceptionally creative, and we're like, I like your mind.
Yeah.
And she's come from, I might get this wrong, but I think she's come from a law background.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
And so it's just something about her CV and the way she wrote it. It just intrigued us, and you're like, there's something different here.
Yeah.
Then, you know, she won us over through the kind of we kind of, what part of our process is kind of, here's a typical creative challenge that we would be presented. Show us how you'd respond to it. Now, you know, we're not expecting a finished gleaming proposal that we could go and sell to the clients. It's just to understand how your mind works.
Yeah.
And her mind was an interesting one, and so, you know, she's now joined us, and so, you know, piece of advice there, I guess, for people transferring into the role is, you know, try and engage in conversation with the recruiter and say, let me show you how my mind would work. Set me a challenge, because they will have them, because every single day clients are setting them challenge, and say, just give me a 1-line challenge and then take that away and do the thing, and just kind of let your mind be free and submit it back, because you never know what you're going to get.
That's awesome advice. We've got a question from Oswaldo, who says, I've been out of marketing jobs for around 2 years and I'm trying to reorient my career and get back on track. What is your advice? He's finding it extremely difficult to show his skills.
Okay. Lou, you want to speak?
Oh, no, I was going to face that back with a question in truth.
I know,
So I would be like,
a hard one,
what's
isn't
the
it?
difficulty you're facing with doing this? I guess.
I mean, for me, that like a big gap in a CV is never worrying to me, or even like a career change or someone coming from somewhere else. If you have the passion for what you want to do, so obviously I'm speaking from a development perspective, so it's slightly different, but I can see when I speak to somebody that they have passion about development, they do projects in their own time, they want to talk about the newest technologies or something cool they saw online. And I'm sure Lou, you'll agree with me from a creative standpoint, if someone comes to you and they're like, I haven't worked in this industry for a few years, but I'm really passionate. I've seen these really cool marketing things that I'm interested in. And like I've been working on these things myself. And as John was saying, we can set a problem for you. So if you keep your skills as sharp as possible by keeping up to date with what's going on, and you know how to answer the question, it will be there. And events like this as well, like these will keep your skills as sharp as possible and let you know what people are looking for, and hopefully you can tailor your portfolio or your CV to be what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Like we had an applicant the other day who'd been in civil engineering for most of their life, which is already immediately like, why have you applied here? This is amazing. But have been building websites in the background just because they just enjoy doing it and they like coding. Like it's, as long as you've got that thing and you've kind of kept it bubbling beneath the surface, no matter what it is. I mean, I guess if like kind of sensing maybe what they're saying is there's a bit of a block there. I would say one of the best ways to kind of get rid of a creative block or like try and break through it is to try something completely new. So that would be my advice if that's what you're thinking, especially as marketing can be slightly same old. So I would say breaking out of that and trying something like, I don't know, like photography or 3D modeling or whatever it is, something that's totally different that isn't email blasts and social posts, then that's always a win.
That's a great idea,
Yeah. I mean, so just following on from that, so the networking side of things, that you cannot underestimate the value of networking. Get yourself out there. Wide Sussex do a fantastic range of events. I mean, I appreciate COVID last year has made it incredibly difficult to kind of get your face seen, but hopefully, we're moving in a positive direction at the moment where, I might be able to see all your lovely faces soon, at which point come up and have a chat with me. But, when you can, get out there, get to these events, because the more you get yourself known, the more you speak, the more connections you make, the greater the chances. I mean, I always say to Paul that one of the good things about Brighton is that there's this kind of there is this sort of 6 degrees of separation that exists. You generally can find someone that you need by asking someone, and they will ask someone, and eventually you'll find that person. So the more people you speak to and make those relationships, the better your chances will be. I
feel like it is a good place. It's kind of unique, Brighton, in that sense that we have so many different meetups, and we are coming back with a vengeance with lots of our events soon. I wanted to ask you, lots of talented people are moving to Brighton to start new careers, or moving from other cities like London, because Brighton is cheaper to live. What do you love? Maybe Rachel can answer this. What do you love about working in Brighton's digital sector?
Oh, Brighton's digital sector is so unique. Working as a developer, and I mean, I don't speak for every London agency, obviously, but I find that in a lot of London agencies or internal jobs as a developer, you go to work and you sit down and you do your coding for the day and you submit your pull requests and then you go home. But when you work in the digital industry, especially in Brighton, you're not just a developer. You make a product. You work with a team. I'm not just in the development team. I'm in a project team. I'm in the Tilt team. I'm in the Brighton team. We're making amazing stuff, and you get to be a part of something that's not just developer. You get to work on changing perspectives and making cool stuff, and that it's a very unique feel here.
I think like Brighton is really unique in that it's kind of it's small and it's big all at once, but also but the kind of commonality between everyone, I guess, and that networking is that everybody gives a damn about what they do, and there is always a good behind what they're doing. And I think there's this intrinsic link between like digital and art and culture in Brighton that you just don't necessarily feel anywhere else. And that's like there's always the best, like quirkiest ideas, like at Fringe or like the festival or the digital festival itself. Like there's always something that just literally blows my mind that I've never seen before. And it's fantastic.
And like the agencies often can work together, and we go to these events and I'll chat to people from other agencies, and it doesn't feel like a rivalry. Yes, it's a jokey rivalry, but we can share ideas and we can talk. And like the Spring Forward Festival, for example, it's great to meet other minority genders in the industry and talk about things and lift each other up and help each other. And that kind of sense of community is something that I find really special about Brighton.
Awesome. Thanks for the shout out. We have got time for a few more questions. This is an interesting question. So Sam says, sometimes in the creative marketing industry, there's some power dynamics that get abused because of hierarchies, which might cause effects to people's mental health. How, as a boutique agency in Brighton, do you combat that?
Well, I'll say what I've got to say, and then you can contradict me. One of the things that we do is we recruit people that are smarter than ourselves, hence Lou and Rachel. So there can be no hierarchy there because they're more intelligent than me. And so there we go.
Is that your answer?
That's what I wanted to say. But in short, like, you know, the role of a leader, I guess, the way we view it at Tilt is, you know, we are there to facilitate the likes of Lou and to facilitate the likes of Rachel to do the great work that they do that we couldn't do. So we're there to serve them, not to kind of tell them what to do. If we're there telling them what to do, we're doing it wrong. Yeah. So the hierarchy aspect is although you kind of have to have it, it shouldn't play. Yeah.
It exists, but it's not. Everybody gets a say. So, you know, when there's a development problem, we all sit around as a team, and everybody from, you know, the lowest junior to the head of development shares our ideas. We discuss what's possible, what we could do about it. Everybody gets to say, and everybody has a skill that might that might be unique to them. So, you know, sometimes I'll ask help from somebody, and sometimes someone else will ask for my help, and that's how you get the best work done.
Absolutely. I missed the kind of the mental health aspect of that. So could you just repeat that question?
Yeah, sure. So I'm reading between the lines, Sam. Forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but the effects of the power dynamics being abused by hierarchies, I'm assuming that's bullying and harassment type things in the workplace that could have an effect on their mental health.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind saying this, it's absolutely fine. So in past agencies, I've definitely witnessed that, and it has been the reason for leaving probably a couple of my past agencies. Like, it's been pretty bad and dire. But I would honestly say I've not come across anything even remotely like that at Tilt. And their attitude towards mental health, I've only been here like a year and 4 months, something like that. But I have like my own mental health things, and Tilt have honestly been fantastic. I can't fault them. Like, they are really conscientious about it and really compassionate. Like, whenever I've needed support, like Mel, our office manager and mental health first aider, has been there at the drop of a hat. She'll literally do anything for anyone, and I literally cannot speak high enough of her. Even like my doctor has been like, God, I wish every workplace was like yours. I was like, I know, right? Why is this not second nature? But yeah, absolutely fantastic. So
she's got herself a sort of a nickname of Mother Mel, isn't she? She looks after everyone. She's all good. And then I guess it's kind of it's how you shape the business. It's kind of a culture. I mean, I come from an interesting background. I used to be a sort of a water sports instructor, so I sort of retrained as a developer when I realised that perhaps water sports instruction wasn't the path to a successful career. But you know, one of the companies I used to work for there, I did a couple of seasons working for Nielsen Active Holidays. Fantastic place, go on holiday with them. But it was great because you go out as a seasonaire and you're a family and you're treated as a family and you enjoy going to work. And then I came back and worked in the head office for a bit. The same culture existed. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, you're a family, and you want to go out and socialize with them, and they become your people. Yeah. And that was in my mind when as we've grown Tilt, is, you know, I don't want a hierarchy. I want to be able to go and sit down, you know, go out for a drink and have a team, you know, evening, and sit down and have a great chat with Rachel and Lou. I want that kind of family vibe, because ultimately we're going into work every day. I want to feel like I want to, not that it's just a job.
And so many agencies say that, oh, we're a family, but genuinely, like, this actually is, like, no BS, like. I wasn't going to go full force.
That's great, Lou. I mean, it's interesting because some people might say that they are like a family in their agency, but that's because they're all quite similar. So the diversity is clear from your website, that people aren't all the same. You know, they don't all look the same, and that's clearly important. Like you said, show not tell. Nicholas asks, it looks like a fairly young team. Flattering. How open are you?
I like you, Nicola.
How open are you to having older staff come to join you?
Absolutely, it's fine.
Yeah. Doesn't mean you are.
Yeah. Our commercial
we're really
is very wise.
She'll kill you for that, John.
She really will.
Fine.
No, for example, we have a career changer in the development team. We love career changers. So Josh, who started with us as a junior a little while ago, he worked for years and years in a completely different industry, a completely different job. He came to us as a junior, and, you know, we didn't care how old he was. In fact, the experience he made before led him to bring something to the team that we didn't have. He had a lot of customer service experience, which means he's great with clients, and clients love him, which is fantastic. And so I actually think having a more a variety of ages and experiences is really vital, because we're making products for everybody. We're not just making websites for young people or for digital media enthusiasts. We're making products for everyone to use. And I think having a diverse range of voices in the making makes us make things that are better. And I think it's really important.
Absolutely.
Very important.
And at the other end of the scale, are people asking, you know, what are your top tips for graduates who are looking to start a career in digital creative sector?
Okay. Get breaking stuff.
Get breaking
whatever
stuff.
It is, whatever you love doing, doesn't matter. Like if you want to make like a crochet piece of wall art or whatever it is, if it's digital and you want to build like, I don't know, like the most mental digital experience. Like one of my first websites was about Teletubbies, like whatever it is, like just build it, make it, learn, and just keep going. Like I think being self-taught when you've graduated as well and learning all those different skills can only make you better, and you'll just take in so many different influences which will shape your personal style as well, which is really important. I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah, also understanding how to learn. So that's really important. So, you know, I learned to code by Googling pretty much. So you learn basically how to ask the right questions of these tools. And then you start building up your bank of sort of, you know, code snippets, etc. Then you know where to go for this bit or this bit, and it makes you a better sort of as a developer. It makes you a better developer, but it's different for everyone. And in fact, I guess from my perspective as well, you know, when reviewing, when you're as a graduate coming into the industry, you know, you're going to have spent a lot of time probably at university creating things, kind of designing, let's say, new sites, etc., and things like that. And you want to put it all on a portfolio. Don't. Choose your best 3 things and put them on your portfolio. Dump the rest, because no, not dump. Let's just put it in a nice box. Put your best 3 things on your portfolio and send that in, basically, because you know that's it. You want to grab someone's attention and hold it, and just all you're trying to do with your CV is trying to pique their interest and say, I want to speak to that person. And with, again, the average recruit person in an agency is looking through CVs, is looking through a lot of CVs. They have to then go hunting for your best work. You're going to lose them. So just put it front and center and say, this is just indicative of me in a nutshell. Here's a lovely cover letter. And
if you don't know what those 3 things are, I think when I was a graduate, I had a mentor, or when I came out of university, it's often quite a perplexing thing to come out of university and you're like, oh God, work? What's that? That sounds too bad actually. But yeah, I got in touch with people on LinkedIn. Like I did my networking, mainly online to be fair, but managed to find someone who was willing to guide me in what I really loved doing and what I should put my time into, and then how that was going to help me get to where I wanted. Sometimes someone just asking the right questions at that point in time is really, really helpful. And likewise, like at social events, like we've mentioned loads of different meetups, but it was actually a UX meetup, which really helped me like guide my journey into strategy. So it comes from various different sources, but speaking to other humans is always a plus.
Yeah, definitely. Don't limit yourself. Katie asks, what's your attitude to flexible working, part-time roles or role sharing? Speaking as a mother who has had to take time out and now looking to work around a young family.
Absolutely, we embrace it. You know, in terms of flexible working, you know, ultimately we're measuring people on output, not what the hours they put in. So if you come to us and say, look, this is what I can do, and I feel like I can deliver this, then that's fine. I mean, I'm a father of 3 daughters under 5. I'd say I do a little bit of flexi working myself, sort of supporting my wife, she's a doctor. It's everyone has their own circumstances, and I think as employers we have a duty to kind of acknowledge and understand that, and kind of create an environment where you can do your best work.
I think that ties back to the work-life balance and mental health thing. I think it's just really well understood that, you know, people work at different times. They are better at different times in terms of how they work. And we just ultimately want the best for that person and the business. It's just a balance.
Yeah. it's kind of led on to a kind of how we're returning to the studio as well. You know, being completely honest, I don't know why it took a pandemic to kind of put this on us, but it's, you know, we're reopening the studio as a destination, not an obligation. So, you know, you as an individual get to choose where you work, be it at home or be it in the office. And you do that by asking yourself the question on the day, you know, what is in the best interest today for my team, the project, and myself. And so you're empowered with that choice. And if you feel like you need the time at home that day because you might have to drop the kids off at school, then that's fine. You do that, as long as at the end of your, I don't know, your project planned time, you've met your milestone, then that's fine.
Yeah. That's excellent. I think that might be a good time to wrap up. Thank you so much to Jonathan, Lou and Rachel, and for sharing all your insights. We've got plenty of creative digital jobs on the wiredsussex.com/jobs website, and we'll be sharing the links that you shared as well. And we've got a whole bunch more of these Meet the Team events coming up as well. I don't know if you want to have any more anything else you want to share with the audience, Lou, Rachel, Jonathan?
I guess if you want to ask any more questions, then find us online and we'll be happy to help.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. We love questions. We love to help.
Never be afraid to ask questions. One piece of advice.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.